Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and welcome into this special bonus edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and this episode was so incredibly fun to be a part of because I got to spend time with two amazing guys who taught me what I believe to be the secret to golf after 50, and that everything I thought before about the golf swing was completely wrong. Who taught me the secret? Well, it was Rocco Mediate. Rocco is a fellow Yinzer. He's from southeast of Pittsburgh in Greensburg. He was a part of an amazing documentary recently called Steel Links. If you're a Yinzer, it's a must-watch. If you love beautiful, scenic golf along with amazing conversation and stories, you're going to enjoy it as well. Former Pirates second baseman Neil Walker hosts the segment that Rocco was a part of, along with former Steelers quarterback Charlie Batch, who's also in it, as is perhaps the most decorated and accomplished female amateur golfer ever, and that is Carol Semple Thompson. Not only will you hear about that documentary, Rocco also takes us back to the 1994 U.S. Open at Oakmont. He and our good friend John Mahaffey played in the threesome along with Mr. Palmer that year. Of course, that was Mr. Palmer's final U.S. Open appearance. Shortly after that tournament, Rocco had back surgery, but he said there was no way that he was missing out on playing alongside Mr. Palmer in his last U.S. Open, regardless of the pain. And he was right there in it, by the way, for 27 holes until his back just gave out on him and he couldn't go on for the weekend. But he takes us inside that playing experience. I also get his thoughts on Wyndham Clark destroying a couple of lockers there at Oakmont and player entitlement. He shares his emotions of getting back into the winner's circle last fall at the Furyk and Friends tournament on the Champions Tour. And we look back to his victory at the 2016 Senior PGA Championship, plus getting to play alongside his college teammates from Florida Southern, Lee Jansen and Marco Dawson, at the 2018 U.S. Senior Open. I credit, like I say, Rocco giving us all the key to playing better after 50. He has a tip that you can go see out on his Instagram page, at Rocco_golf, that has helped me find an extra 10 yards and hit the ball straighter. We'll share that in this segment as well. Following him is another accomplished guy who played on the PGA Tour and who is now one of the top instructors in our game. Larry Rinker is back. Larry makes crystal clear that I still have a lot to learn about the golf swing. I strike a couple of chords with him and he sets me straight about it. He dives deeply into what Wright Balance is and that technique and the associated 3 swing models that it has. We also talk about the 3 Opens that he played in, including his tied for 12th at Muirfield back in 1992. He shares his Masters playing experiences, including playing in the par 3 tournament alongside Gary Player and Gabe Brewer, plus the pressure of trying to make it through Q School, and he gives us a tip for how to make more of those fast downhill putts. So, folks, it's an amazingly fun episode ahead for you. I can't thank you enough for coming back and joining me for a bonus edition of Next on the Tee. I know you're really going to enjoy this one. Thank you for tuning in and taking the journey with me over the next hour plus. Okay, but before we get into this week's show, I want to start off by giving a shout out to our good friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. TribLive.com is the leading news website for Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock. Pittsburgh Pro Sports coverage, a high school sports network, a podcast network, which you can find Next on the Tee on. So go out and bookmark TribLive.com or download the Trip Live app for free and stay up to date with all the news in Western Pennsylvania and this show. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Iron City beer, best enjoyed while enjoying life. And folks, this year, get ready to experience the game like you've never experienced it before at the Keep. It's the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course up at Macklemore. Nestled high atop Lookout Mountain, the Keep offers breathtaking vistas that are even more spectacular in person than they are in the pictures and the videos. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round there is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore this year. The Keep is open for preview play and it's waiting for you. But you gotta hurry now because spots and availability are filling up fast. So don't wait. Check out both courses, the Highlands and the Keep, for yourself online at themacklemore.com. And then do yourself and your buddies, or yourself and your family a solid by getting your spot reserved now. And experience distance and forgiveness all at once with the new QI35 driver from TaylorMade. QI35 is designed to give golfers more distance from more of the face while maintaining maximized forgiveness through high MOI designs. Whether you're looking for low spin and maximum workability or easy launch and plenty of adjustability, it's available in low spin, core, and max models. QI35 also has a full assortment of fairway woods and rescues to deliver distance and forgiveness throughout the top end of your bag. Check them all out online at TaylorMadeGolf.com. All right, now next on the tee with me is fellow Pittsburgh area native Rocco Mediate. For those who aren't familiar, Rocco is actually from Greensburg, which is about 30 miles southeast of the city. Like our good friend Tom Patry, Rocco played his college golf at Florida Southern, where he was a two-time All-American, first team in 1984. He led the team in stroke average in 1982 and 83. He won the Sunshine State Conference Championship in 1983 at Palm Harbor Country Club and was named All-Conference that year as well. He and teammates Lee Jansen and Marco Dawson helped the Moccasins win the 1985 Division II National Championship. He was named to the Sunshine State Conference Silver Anniversary Team and inducted into the Florida Southern and Sunshine State Conference Hall of Fames in 2003. Later on that year, he turned pro. He won 6 times on the PGA Tour, 5 more times out on the Champions Tour, including the 2016 Senior PGA Championship. He has 3 other professional wins to his credit: the Callaway Golf Pebble Beach Invitational, the Franklin Templeton Shootout alongside his college teammate Lee Jansen, and the CVS Charity Classic. Along with those 14 wins, he also has 11 runner-up finishes, 116 top 10s, and I couldn't be more honored I get to spend some time with him this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Rocco, thanks for coming on the show.
Good morning. No problem. I didn't even know half the stuff you just said. Like, wow, I did that? Gee, that's cool. No idea.
Rocco, I want to start out talking about a documentary that I just loved that you were a part of not that long ago, Steel Links.
Right.
You were on there with Neil Walker, Charlie Batch, Carol Semple Thompson, who I don't think enough people know about. We'll talk about her in a little bit. But talk about the experience that you had doing that and getting to play that day at Longview Club in Verona with those guys.
Yeah, first it was an honor to be asked to do that, especially doing the Oakmont's 10th U.S. Open this year. It was just cool, going back home. Any excuse I get to come home, I come home. So I always tell people, and most people, sometimes people forget, it's like, you're from where you're from, it can't change. Whether you know what I mean? And I love where I'm from Greensburg. So I love getting back home. And, Longview, I played years and years ago, a lot of times when we were kids. Kenny Lucas, who was my next door neighbor, was a ping rep. And Ken Pizzica was the professional there. And we would always go over on Mondays when it was closed and play. Probably once a month we went over there. It was great. So Longview brings back a lot of memories. But then to do this for the Steel Links thing, it was cool. It was so much fun. The only bad thing about it was it didn't last like for 4 days because it was fun. Yeah.
And Rocco, Pittsburgh golf is something that I don't think enough people outside of Western Pennsylvania are aware of. There are a lot of great golf courses in
Oh,
and around the city. When you go back home, where do you enjoy playing?
well, I grew up at Greensburg Country Club, but I'm mostly up at Laurel Valley. I've been a member there since '93. So it's like, yeah, but I was back at Greensburg a few weeks ago. Just go back home and see some people, and that's where I kind of hang most of the time. Or I'll go down to Valley Brook with a buddy of mine, Jeff Dyer, who's down there. I go wherever. Johnny Aber up at Allegheny, I go there sometimes, but I haven't been there in a couple of years. I don't get back as much as I want, but so I can't go everywhere when I get home. But Pittsburgh there's so many choices in Pittsburgh. It's ridiculous. All Western Pennsylvania, good stuff.
I know Mr. Palmer was very important to you in your career. Do you remember what was the first time you got to meet Mr. Palmer?
When I was 19 at Latrobe, and I was playing. It was a Wednesday morning. It was Ladies' Day at Greensburg, and we were going to play early. And I got a call from a couple buddies of mine, Chris Adams, Danny Bonar, and they said, "Yeah, we got a game over at Latrobe. You need to come play in it. We're going to make you some money." So I blew my guys off and drove over to Latrobe, and because it's 10-minute ride, 12 minutes maybe, and they always told me they were going to get me a game with Mr. Palmer, but I really wasn't interested because I was too shy. I didn't want to be around, I was too like in awe of that stuff. I hadn't played with him yet, and I was fine. So when I got to the course and I turned around the corner just past the pro shop by the little putting green, Mr. Palmer was on the tee hitting balls. There was no range then. So he'd have shag bag and he'd hit balls down number one fairway. They'd pick him up, he'd go play. Well, as soon as I saw him, I went to turn around because I was going back. I wasn't playing because I knew what they had up. I knew this was a trick. And as soon as I turned around, Danny was right there, and he goes, "Oh, no, 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 you're coming with us." So they knew I was going to turn around. So and I went up and I walked up, shook his hand. It was like I knew him for 30 years. It was that deal. Well, he's like that with everybody. But so that was it. That's when we played and we had a blast. And then he became like second dad to me, basically, golf wise and life wise, to tell you the truth. So I was very fortunate there. That was cool.
So what was it like getting on the first tee with Mr. Palmer for the first time? I mean, I got to imagine the butterflies and the nerves are through the roof trying to impress him.
Yeah, I was just trying to play. I didn't care if I impressed him, because how do you impress him? I mean, I'm a 19-year-old, never done anything in golf, and it was just good to be there. But I played really good, and he liked that. I hit a lot of good shots that day. I shot 69, I believe. He shot 70, which did not make him happy. And it was one of those days. But it was just a day to watch. I never got to see. I've seen him obviously, but I never got to hang around him. It was just learned a lot just watching him do his thing, and told me a few things. It was just cool. And and then we had something to eat and talked after that. And then I'd go up over the years at Latrobe or Laurel, and he watched me hit a lot of balls. We'd play a lot of golf. It was just great. No one around, just him and I, or him and a couple buddies.
You played in the 1994 U.S. Open at Oakmont along with him. You and our wonderful friend of this show, John Mahaffey, got paired with him for the first two rounds.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was going to be his farewell U.S. Open. You were dealing with some back issues at the time. Was it a situation where when they asked you if you were going to play in that Open, you were like, well, my back isn't doing so good. And they said, well, we'll put you with Arnie. You know what? My back is feeling a lot better all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, they called early. The USGA said, because I was exempt for that Open. And so my back was really bad. I actually had surgery a month after that U.S. Open. But I hadn't played since February. And when they told me, I said, well, crap, I'm going to try this, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal. And I played at Westchester and made the cut at Westchester, which I don't know how that happened. But and played okay. I obviously making the cut was good enough. I hadn't played in 3 or 4 months. So I got ready. You can never get ready for Oakmont. You can't get ready for Oakmont because it's the hardest golf course on earth. And that's why they've had their 10th Open. But I'd known it. I'd played it pretty well in some of the Family House tournaments, Mr. Fear's event. And I'm like, this is going to be great. So, it was 115 that week. And we played every practice round together also. Mr. Palmer, myself, Lee, and Mr. Nicholas played one day. There were more people following us than there probably were on the final group on Sunday. And it wasn't because of me or Lee. It was because of those two. So that was cool. But just being there the whole time and then seeing the last 2 rounds, and he should have really made the cut. He just putted awful because he hit it pretty good those 2 days, even for the length. And Oakmont back then wasn't as long as it is now, but it was long in that day. You know what I mean? So it was just you could talk about it for days, but coming up our 36th hole, we're walking up and by the way, Mahaffey is just phenomenal. He's one of my favorite people in the world. And it was great to be paired with those guys. And I was playing through 27 holes. I was in the tournament. I was like right there. But I was struggling a lot. And he and Mr. Palmer knew it because we got on 17, which it was I wouldn't say I could have drove it on the green, but I could have got it up close to the left side, which is a great place to play from. And I had a 4-iron and then a wedge on the green. I don't think I made birdie, but I hit 2 good shots. And he goes, "Why did you lay up there?" See, that's him. I'm like, well, because I can't move. If you see the way I'm swinging, I'm just getting it around the golf course. Back off. I mean, I couldn't even hardly move. And then I got all this around me with him. So it's like I hit a good tee shot on 18 and I hit it on the green about 30 feet past the hole. And I didn't know if I was going to putt it off the green. It was just so intense. But walking up to the green, I stopped Kenny Monogna, who caddied for me back then. He's from up in Ligonier also. And John Mahaffey and his caddy, we stopped about 70 yards and just let him go and just watched. And it was, well, you should let him go. It's about him. But just standing back there watching everything happen well, you can't buy it. You can't even make a movie about it because it wouldn't do it justice. But just seeing that and then going up, putting out, he putted out. And I said to him when we were walking off the green, I said, all this is because of you. And he just lost it. He started, he called me a few choice words a couple of weeks later when we met. He was like, "I can't believe you did that to me, you son of a," no. I said, well, too bad. You actually got to show more emotion than you normally do because you always showed emotion. And then the press conference obviously was unprecedented. It'll never be nothing. It'll be never be another one like that one. But yeah, that was something you don't get to do. I was very fortunate to do that, to be able to do that.
Speaking about all that going around you, I mean, to your point, you were in the golf tournament for
Yeah.
a large portion of it for those 2 days. Was it hard to focus on your own game? Because I have to imagine every green he walked up to was a standing ovation from the fans.
Yeah, well, it was. It was every tee, every green. So, but no, I never minded noise. I was always, basically that week was, I've said it a million times. I've always done well in chaos. I like chaos. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's probably good in golf. Whether chaos is on the course or off the course, I've always done well in chaos. And he brought chaos that week because in a good way, because people, I mean, they didn't go to see anybody else that week. I know Ernie won, but they didn't go to see him yet. It's like they wanted to see the Mr. Palmer, and they wanted to see his last Open, and it was just. But Oakmont demands you have to pay attention. so I had to really pay attention. Obviously, like double, and I never was one of those Zen people. I just hit my shot and then hit my next shot. I didn't. There's no like rocket science going on here. Kind of like there is now, if you think about it. But it's just, I don't know how else to explain it. It was just the coolest couple days, and then talking about it after over the years, and getting to play a lot. I played with him in the PGA, his last PGA, also at Crooked Stick. I think that was his last one, but yeah, getting to do that, total honor, and I don't know. I remember like it was yesterday. Really, I don't remember all the shots, but I remember the whole atmosphere and everything going on, and being in Oakmont, which is about 40 minutes from where I grew up, and 50 minutes from where he grew up. So it was really cool that they let me do that because they didn't have to do that.
You mentioned in the documentary that Mr. Palmer taught you how to be with the fans, how to relate to people. Was that through the things that he said to you and stories he shared, or did you learn it by watching how he interacted with them?
Well, no, we had long talks about that in his office. I spent lots of time in his office, and a lot of it was not. It was fun, but it was like stern. He was very tough and in a good way. I like that part too. I like when people press you or or put you against the wall and like, you got to be this way better. You got to do this better. You got to learn to do this. And I listened. And did I do it all the time perfect? No, no one did. But I learned how to be with people because that was his game. I remember he said a bunch of times, the first time he said, you know, Rock, if people are dumb enough to come and watch you play, you better give them something back for their money. I go, wait, go back to the first part. The first part, what? And I looked at him and well, I agree. I wouldn't come watch me play. And these people are, so it's like he goes, look him in the eye, say hello. I don't care what day of the tournament it is. You know, it doesn't, he said, you owe these people something for coming out to watch you. And all it has to do is, hey, what's going on? Don't ignore. He said, don't look down. And that was the hardest part to do, for sure. And I learned to do that and I got good at it. And it was fun because, you know, when he tells you to do something, you do it. And that's just, you know, he was the guy that everybody tried to be like, and no one even came close. So it's like, I don't know. I have a reasonable reputation with people, I think, and I like that because that's almost more important than anything else in our sport because, you know, we're out there on display anyway. You can't get close to any other athletes than you can to golfers pretty much. So, you know, you're interacting and that's okay to interact. It doesn't matter when. And I learned that and I do that still. I enjoy that. Kids, everything. I love it all. Sometimes it's like you see some of the stuff happening today, but sometimes it's hard to talk to people when you're not playing good. And one thing he told me that was cool, he goes, listen, when you shoot 65, it's easy to be nice and talk to everybody and talk to the press. He said, but when you shoot 75, can you do the same thing? That's the test. That's the test. So that's why I've reacted over the last couple of months about a few things that have happened on the PGA Tour because that it's easy to have that happen. You just have to fix it. Okay. And then have I talked to people every single time I've shot 75? No, I haven't done a perfect job, but no one has. You try to though. I don't walk away, but it's like you're mad. But you got to deal with that and learn how to play, you know, learn how to be that guy. And I learned that over the years. And it takes time. It takes time to be that way, especially when you're so shy when you're a kid. It's ridiculous how shy I was, but obviously that's gone. But those were huge learning things about, you know, he watched me hit a lot of balls, didn't talk about golf swing like ever. Just talked about shots. And that's how I always approached it. He knew I liked right to left, and that's all he thought I should try to do unless I couldn't. Learning those things, boy, if you were a better putter, you'd win so many more. I said, yeah, but I'm not a better putter. I'm as good a putter. I'm as good a putter as I'm going to be right now. I'm trying to do the best I can. You know, I'm not going to, you know, he would like think I would be like him. You should be winning more. I said, I'm not winning 60 tournaments. I'm not doing what you did. It's not going to happen. You know, and it's like, it was just cool to be able to like bounce things off. And we got in many arguments too. And he never lost arguments ever. Even if he was 1,000% wrong, you could have a thing in granite and chiseled into granite on what he's arguing about. And I was right and he was wrong. He'd go, that's wrong too. You know, he was like, he was funny. So it was very frustrating sometimes, but in a good way. In a good way. You know, we were definitely mad at each other a few times, but it was just an honor to be, you know, able to call him whenever I wanted or go see him when I was home. So he would expect that. He would totally expect that.
I want to go back to something you were going through a moment ago about the idea of it's easy to talk to the press when you're playing well, but not so much when you're not. Because that is become a thing, right? That's been out on the PGA Tour. Guys getting fed up with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is that a cultural thing? Is that a result of so much negativity on social media? Or is that just the fact that we don't have a Mr. Palmer around anymore to pull somebody aside and say, hey, this is what you need to do and how you need to do it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's cultural. It's just entitled is what it is. It just is. I mean, I don't, you know, I was entitled as I played on the PGA Tour for 27 years, those years ago, because we are entitled, but that doesn't mean you got to act like it. You see, the PGA Tour now is 10 times huger than it was when I played. More money. And I love that part of it. I'm not the guy that goes, oh, they're playing for all this money. We played for plenty of money. And if you would ask Mr. Palmer, if he was still here, how back when he played, he would say the same thing. We played for plenty of money at the time. Yeah. Would I like to be playing now? Of course you would. But it's not what it was really about. It was about making money, obviously, but it's not what it was about in tournaments. I never looked at purses when I played. I didn't care what we were playing for. I played on the street. Didn't matter. But nowadays you see it's like some of the comments that are made are wrong. And I've done a bunch of talks. I've had this question asked several times in the last few months. And I ended one of the conversations the last time I talked about it. I was like when I talk about it, people think I'm talking about it because I'm perfect in that world. Has nothing to do with me. It had to do with this. I was asked a question. So if I'm asked that you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. And then the end of the thing was, you should try it sometime. You see, that's the end of the conversation. If you shoot 75 and they want to talk to you, yeah, that's the most important time, because now we're going to find out things about you that we will really want to know. Oh my God, I just did this. I felt crappy. I feel terrible right now. I'm so disappointed. That's okay. It's the same as saying, I can't believe I won the tournament. This is so cool. It's the same thing. Okay, so if you can talk to me when you win a tournament, you can talk to me when you lose one coming down the stretch, whether you lose it yourself or you get beat. That's the way the game is. So it's not about what I do. It's about what you should do, what I was taught to do. And when I'm asked that question, I'm going to answer it. I do not care about the consequences, because I'm not talking about me. It had nothing to do with me. It has to do with who taught me to do certain things. And I did it to the best of my ability. And so should everybody else. You owe the media and the fans. You owe them. You owe them something. But the media is out there to do a job. Okay. If you don't talk to them, they can't do their job. Okay. And sometimes you don't want to, there's no question about it. But that's when you got to do your best. That's the test. And not everybody does it bad and not everybody does it good. But if you screw it up, fix it quick. Don't let it fester around and say dumbass things after that. It's like I always talk about, it just doesn't make sense to not tell somebody how you're feeling. And you know what? If you need 10 minutes, say, listen, guys, I'm not doing this now. Give me 10 minutes. That's all you got to say. And they will. And that's all you have to do. But it's gotten different. And I love the way I love the PGA Tour. I love the guys on the PGA Tour. And no one does it perfect. No one. But nowadays, with the media and all the crazy social stuff going on, you have to be great, because they'll barbecue your ass. And that's not what you want to do. You don't want that to happen. It's going to happen. Trust me, it's happened to me. But I fixed it as quickly as I could. And that's all you have to do, because everybody makes mistakes. It's no one's perfect.
Yep.
So if you screw it up, listen, guys, sorry, let's start over, try this again, and you're done. That makes you look even better.
So let's take that a step further, because something that has really bothered me as a Pittsburgh guy, and speaking of fixing it quickly, is Wyndham Clark kicking in a couple of lockers right there at Oakmont, which to me is, you might as well have just spit on, Mr. Palmer or something like that, something egregious, and didn't fix it quickly. And to your point, I think he could have come back and said very quickly, I lost my temper. Played badly. I missed the cut. I was just in a bad place. Of course, I'm going to fix these things. Of course, I'm going to do whatever I need to do. And that didn't happen until weeks later.
Nope.
And what in the world are you thinking?
Yeah, they don't care. And the fix on that one was, listen, guys, I made a huge mistake. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. Let me know. I apologize. Finished. No one would even heard about it if you did that.
Yep.
Okay. So it's so simple. Okay. Because first of all, really, you're going to kick the crap out of a locker because you had a bad day? Stop it. Just stop it. You're a United States Open champion. Act like one. Okay. So it's like, yeah, we all make mistakes. I don't know that I've ever kicked a locker in. I might have hit one with my fists or something, but I never broke anything because I probably wasn't strong enough. But you just one of the comments he made was, let's just move on from this. Well, no, you don't get to just move on. You got to answer. You have to pay the piper, dude.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, you do. I mean, you did it. Fix it. Now, he came back weeks later, or whatever, last week, and he's going to fix it. Perfect. Just took too long.
Yes.
Okay, can he make it right? Absolutely. Absolutely. This isn't a death sentence. Okay, but yeah, that was a bad deal, and it makes him look bad. I don't know him at all, but first impressions are always the most important.
Indeed.
Nothing else to say about that.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit. Carol Semple Thompson is one of the greatest amateur players of all time. Have you gotten an opportunity to play much golf with her?
I'd met her years past, but never really got to play with her. And just playing the few holes that we played at Longview and just talking to her she's so cool. It's just so cool. Still plays nicely. She won like 12,000 tournaments. She's just, I don't know. She's like the salt of the earth person. One of those people that is the salt of the earth. She's told me tell stories and why she didn't turn professional and the story about Allegheny and Sewickley and her dad. Her dad built Sewickley Heights. I mean, I didn't know this. And I said, why did he do that? Well, because Allegheny you couldn't really get into. So he wanted to build a course that anybody could play. And they built Sewickley, which is one of the best golf courses in Pittsburgh, period. If you want a good test, go out there and see how you do. And it just those stories, but she's been in the game so long and so good at it for so long and still loves it. And she's great. She's absolutely, like I said, I wish that day lasted a week because, there's so many questions and, you just want to watch her do just the way that you can just tell great players, they do things differently. And she still is a great player. And I don't know how old Carol is now. I would say 70-ish, maybe. I don't know.
Neil Walker in that documentary towards the end talked about the importance of playing like you're from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And how that was instilled in him. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's a steel town. It's, it's blue collarish, which is awesome. It's tough. I don't know. You see a lot of I was, like I told you, I like chaos. I like noise. I like people telling me I'm no good. I love that. I like to prove them wrong. That's Pittsburgh.
Wow.
That's it right there. I love when people say you suck or well, how'd you get on tour? Really? Well, just watch the ball fly. Tell me how you're feeling now. Tell me. It's like I love that whole challenge part. I think that's part of where we came from. Just to tell it like it is. I didn't do that early because I couldn't talk. I was too shy. But I tell it like it is. I don't care. I don't care of the consequences. If I tell the truth, you can't hurt me. So that's the mentality there. Tough as nails. Like I said before, Franco, I did an outing with him. Not an outing, in Canada, and where the hell were we? In Calgary. And we spoke in front of like 2,000 people. And he spoke first. Now I got to go up. Really? He can't put me first? And then he goes up and it's not a big deal? So I go up and I said, the first thing I said was, I said, Franco Harris, I don't know that he knows this. He probably does. I said, but he changed the trajectory of Pittsburgh with the catch. The whole trajectory of the city was changed when they won the Super Bowl because of that catch when they got to the Super Bowl. And what are you talking about? There was a reason he gave everybody hope. Pittsburgh was getting beat up, Steel Town, it was beat up. No championships. We won the World Series in 1960. I say we. The Pittsburgh, with Maz's home run. We know all this stuff. We know all the players from every team, But he changed the trajectory of the city. And he was like touched by that. I turned around. He was like, he couldn't look up because he did. If that ball drops, Pittsburgh doesn't get on the map. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's on the map. Now Pittsburgh's a powerhouse now. Pirates in 79. I mean, all this crazy stuff happened after that catch. Crazy. The city became more, I'm telling you, it became more vibrant. Things happened. Now there's Steeler bars all over the world. Are there any Baltimore Ravens bars in Italy? No, there aren't. There's a Steeler bar in Italy. I mean, seriously, think about it. There's a Steeler bar in Scottsdale. No, it's, what's the name of the town? But it's up the road from Scottsdale, and it's packed every Sunday. When it's packed, you can't get in. There's no other bar. Seriously, think about it.
Yeah.
So he put us on the map in sports, even though Maz with the home run in 1960. So even though that happened, Franco took it a step further with the Steelers, and then they went 6-2. I mean, think about what happened. Yeah. Think about what happened to the city after 1974.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Joe Green always said, right? There was no winning before Franco, and there was no winning after Franco.
Right.
For years.
Yeah. So if you it's amazing what happened that day. Amazing what happened that day. And being the Pittsburgh mentality is that it's like nose to the grindstone. Let's go. It doesn't have to be pretty either, by the way. It can be any. I mean, Mr. Palmer, if you could not call his golf swing pretty. It was violent. It was nasty, and it got the job done like 70 times. It didn't matter what it looked like. We just played, and that's what I took from all that. I pay attention. I've always paid attention, and being from there I'm honored that I'm from the Western Pennsylvania. Honored. Same. I love growing up there. I love going home. I'll go to Greensburg and I go up on certain holes and just sit there by myself and hit shots or do stuff I used to do when I was 17, 18 years old. That's what it's about. It gives you power. It gives me energy. And people don't understand it. I don't think. I'd say I'm going home for what? I need energy. I need to go see a few people. I need to go to the golf course. I need to kind of be by myself a little bit or spend a couple hours out there and remember things where you learned and what it. I did some Instagram stuff at Greensburg a couple weeks ago on certain holes that I loved to practice on. I'm like, oh my God, this is such a bigger downslope than I remember. Where did I learn to play shots? There. That's where I learned all the side hill, uphill, downhill, all kinds of hills. When I got to Florida my first year, I'm like, what the hell is this? It's flat. What's going on here? What's happening? Where are the hills? The only flat places in Western PA, the tee boxes. That's it. So that's how you learn and you remember those things. And a kid who's playing the Corn Ferry Tour now, Mark Getz, who's from Greensburg. You probably have heard his name. He's out there playing now. And I started helping him a little bit, we'll say, or talking with him a lot and playing with him a lot like 4 or 5 years ago. He has that same mentality. Okay. This kid he's going to be good. He's just getting his feet wet now. He's learning how to play and he's learning what happens in tournaments. And so he's learning it all right now. He's only 24, 25 now. But anyway, he has that same mentality. When he goes home, he goes to Hannistown. That's where he grew up. And he plays and he hangs out with his buddies and he gets energy and he remembers certain shots. And that's what I'm trying to pound into his head. That's what it's all about. Can you play in a tour event like you play with your buddies at home? That's the test. Play like you practice. You can't be stopped. We don't do it. Boy, it sounds so simple. Yeah, it is, but we don't do it. So when we do it, we beat people's ass. It's that simple. And it doesn't, it's just how do we make a score? But learning there, it was great because I was always told I was no good. I was always laughed.
Is that right?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, trust me. Oh no, I never was, I was never thought of much in the golf world, especially early, but I never cared. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Yeah, I suck, but I have a tour card. How are you doing? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I'm no good, but I'm playing the PGA Tour right now. And I did that this is my 40th year. So you hear things about, I don't, like I said, it gives me energy. Some people don't react. My coach, Charlie Matlock, coach at Florida Southern, who was one of my favorite people of all time, always told us that we'll never make it. You guys don't practice enough. We practiced from dawn till dusk. We practiced under the lights sometimes. You guys don't work. You're lazy. And he's doing that on purpose. Now, some guys on the team left because of that. I got better. Jansen got better. Marco Dawson got better because he pushed us. You guys can't beat anybody. He would just bust our ass, but in a good way. He wasn't like mean about it. It was like almost laughing, but it made us mad. I'm like, really? Watch this. That was the point.
Yeah.
So, and I learned being able to deal with that from growing up at home. I played baseball. You stink. You can't throw the ball. Well, I could throw pretty good. I wasn't bad. I wasn't great. I loved baseball. It was my first love. I wanted to be a baseball player, but when I turned 16, I wasn't good enough. So I played golf. Who knew? So, stuff like that, you remember all those things. And they had something to do with why. Did I set the world on fire at golf? No, but I overachieved my ass off. I can assure you that. So I just learned to play on the PGA Tour. You don't get to do that anymore. You got to be ready when you get there. That's the difference. The kids are better than we were younger. For sure. They're ready to go when they get to the tour now. We didn't. I was like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I can't do anything these guys are doing. So I had to learn, and I did, and I stayed there all those years, 27 straight there, which is cool. I mean, I'm very, very, very pleased with that. And then now all the Champions Tour stuff. But that's my reward for the PGA Tour is all these years in the Champions Tour. So I got my reward. The way I did the PGA Tour paid off to keep playing, professional golf in 62, which is ridiculous when you think about it.
So let's talk about beating people's asses. Oh, by the way, I want to go back to let's go back to the 2016 Senior PGA. You win that week at Harbor Shores. You open the tournament with a 62, and then as I was kind of going through and reading about the round and stuff like that on Friday, you jarred an eagle on the 5th hole, which was your 14th of the day. You were 2 over at the time, and you turned what could have been a 72 into a 66, and you go out and shoot 66 in the final round to win by 3. Yeah. Talk about bringing home your first major.
Yeah, it was, Monty and Bernhard were, right there. And I played with Monty on Sunday. And I liken playing against Monty as like throwing a tennis ball against a wall and expecting it not to come back. It's coming back. Okay. And Monty's coming. He was in his heyday then, especially in this Champions Tour golf. He'd won the last 2 PGAs. He won the Open, I think the year, I don't remember the year he won the US Open, Senior Open. But yeah, I had to come with it. And I enjoyed that against the best players because Monty and Bernhard were the best players. I was not. And I'd won a couple times, but that was it meant a lot because albeit a senior major, it was a major in our world at that time. So it mattered. I had the same feelings I did in our majors and the other majors, the regular majors, the kids majors, we'll call them. And, I was playing good and I made I made a putt on 15. Monty just hanging on the edge on 15 for eagle. So if that falls and I missed the birdie putt, we're tied. And his missed. I made the 12-footer up the hill to stay. I think I would have been 1 ahead if he makes the eagle. But I make the birdie to stay 2 ahead, which was maybe even, I don't even remember. But anyway, we both parred 16. 16 was a hard hole. But 17 is where the Pittsburgh stuff came out to where I hit a terrible 5-iron in the front right bunker. He needed about 30 feet. And I think I was up 2. Yeah, I was up 2 for sure. Yeah, because I was up 2 going to 17. And 17's not a really difficult par 3. It was 185 yards. Then 18 was not a difficult par 4 if you drive good, but there's water to the right and it's only a driver and a 7-iron. So I felt like if I could just not fall down, I could, I'm going to win this tournament. Then I hit it in the right bunker and I had about a 25-yard bunker shot. And he's 25 feet for birdie. So, a 2-shot swing is quick. I don't get up and down. He makes, we're tied. Problem. And so my bunker game was ridiculously good that week. So I'm like, all right, I can do this. I looked at Martin. I said, I can knock this thing in. And as soon as I hit it, I'm like, oh, this has a shot. And of course it goes in, right? I remember turning around going, I told you I was going to make that. It's like the fact that it went in was obviously a bonus, but it was a good shot. It just fell in the front edge. And I remember Monty looking over, just shaking his head at me like, "You son of a." and then he misses, but he had a good putt, missed it. And then I'm 3 up to the last. Now, the only thing I can't do is like break my ankle. It's over. And of course, I drive it in the right bunker on 16. Of course I did, because I can't hit it. There's only 40 yards of fairway to the left. Can't hit it over there. And I remember Martin, my caddy, I only had like 150 yards to the front, like 165, 70 to the hole or something like that. Monty's down there perfect. Okay. He's got a 7-iron in his hand. So if he makes birdie and I hit it in the water again and make 6, I lose. So all these things are going through my mind. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this 5-iron. I had 150 yards to the front. And I'm just going to chip the 5-iron out, let it run up the fairway on the front of the green. Martin goes, "What I want? Give me my 5-iron." Because I'm not going to put a ball in the air now. I don't need to. I got 3 shots. I'm not going to try to hit a 7-iron on the green. I'm just going to chip a 5-iron, hit it 115 yards, 20 yards in the air, and run it on the green. And I'll be damned if I hit it right. Flew at about 120, 130, ran up about 35, 40 feet from the hole. Over. Tournament's over. So I learned how to do things like that. If I needed to hit it on the green with a 7-iron or a 6-iron, then I'd had to try that. Of course I would have. But I didn't. So I didn't play the shot that could have got me in trouble. I could have made, if I make double and he makes par, I win. If I make, bogey and he makes birdie, I still win. So I knew all I had to do was 2 or 3 putt. It's over. So I 2-putted and we were done. But it was really special because it was a major. It's our oldest major on the Champions Tour. And the trophy's cool and great names on the trophy. And it was just one of those things where at least I got one on any tour is fine.
Indeed.
But it was fun. Remembering those shots, just like, no, it's fun. It's exciting. Yeah, it's cool how that all works out.
A couple years later in 2018 at the U.S. Senior Open, you get paired with your Florida Southern teammates, you, Jansen, Marco Dawson.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like getting to play with those guys and do it in a major?
Well, they kind of set that up for us, which is cool. And Lee's one of my closest friends. He's won 2 U.S. Opens. The son of a, I'm still mad at him because I didn't win any. And he's just one of my favorite people. And we both learned from each other. But that week was cool. I was the worst in the group, I think, and I finished 12th. I think Marco and Lee. I know Lee finished better than I think Marco did too. But anyway, so we actually had a good week together. We had fun. But sometimes you play with your buddies, you're trying to beat them, and you play like crap. So it's like, but we all played pretty good. Actually, Marco was in bad shape and birdied like 4 of the last 6 holes to make the cut. And then I think he played good in the weekend. But we were all pulling for each other. We had a great time, and that was at Colorado Springs, Broadmoor.
Yep.
Really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, and I remember speaking about trying to beat your buddies and losing focus on the tournament. I know
Yeah.
Mr. Palmer and Mr. Nicholas used to talk about that back in the day, right? They'd get to be paired with one another, and they were trying to beat the other guy, and they'd lose focus on the tournament. Probably lost a couple of tournaments because they lost sight of the field trying to beat the brains out of the other guy.
Yeah, they just wanted to kill each other. But yeah, that's rivalry. Lee and I have been like close since we met. We didn't like each other much when we met, and then then Coach put us in the same hotel room in tournaments, and we had to learn to like each other. So we did. We talk about that all the time. Oh my God. I hated him when we hated each other. Why? I don't know. I don't know. You got this brash Pittsburgh dope, and then you got the kid from, he grew up mostly in Florida, but he's actually from Minnesota, believe it or not. That's where he was born. But he grew up in Maryland, Florida, and then Florida. But yeah, it was funny. It was like 2 different attitudes clash.
Yeah. I get it. I got a close friend of mine that I hated him when I met him, but we've become the best of friends over the last 30 years or so. So I get how that happened.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
You got back in the winner's circle late last year. Speaking of Pittsburgh people, at the Furyk and Friends tournament, what did it like getting back in the winner's circle?
Well, that's the thing I loved the most about it was that got me winning in 5 different decades. So that's insane when you think about it. So yeah, I won in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 5 different, you know what I'm saying? 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. That's I can't even believe it. If you say that about like Bernhard, you're like, yeah, that's normal. But me, that's not normal. It's like way above what I thought I could ever Dude, I wanted to win again. I still want to win again. I've been hurt most of this year. I'm fine now though, but it's like I feel like sometimes I'm finished and I'm like, wait a minute, I just won like 9 months ago. What are you talking about? You finished. So sometimes the body doesn't cooperate, and I've had that throughout my career. And this is just a small little shoulder thing, but I'm working through that. So I'm going to play a lot towards the end of the year now, and see if I can sneak one in there again. You never know. But I have it. The game's there. It's there. I just got to get it out.
Rocco, just a couple more before I let you go. You were inducted into a pair of Hall of Fames in 2003, the Florida Southern and the Sunshine State Conference. What was it like being up on the podium twice, being recognized for all the things you've accomplished?
Wasn't there. Couldn't go there. No, I wasn't there. I didn't even know half the time. Traveling so much, it was impossible. But the fact that even happened is cool. I mean, I didn't do anything in college. I won 2 tournaments. That's it. I won, like you said, the Sunshine State, which was really cool. Oh, I got to tell you a story about that real quick. Sunshine State. Here's Coach Matlock's, the way he does things. So anyway, I'm playing the 3rd round. I'm leading the tournament. My first ball out of bounds. How's that for a start? Then I hit it off. And then I hit it on the green, make a birdie for a 5. So I'm all right. So I go and I'm playing nice, like even par, maybe 1 under. I know there's no scoreboard. This is 1983, I think. Something like that, 83, 84. And we come to the last hole, and I'm in the last group, and the team is basically, the tournament's over. The team's basically won the tournament. So I said to Coach, I said, where am I? He goes, you got a 1-shot lead. I'm like, what? He goes, you got a 1-shot lead. The hole's like driver 3-iron par 4. I'm like, shit. So I drove good, hit it on the green with a 3 or 4-iron, and 2-putted from like 30 feet. Well, I didn't have a 1-shot lead. I had a 3-shot lead. I go, Coach, what? He goes, I just wanted to see what you had. I'm like, what? I'm dying out here. I never won anything. What are you doing to me? So that was that was Coach Matlock. He goes, I wanted to see what you had. He goes, nice work. I'm like, thanks. Okay, we're leaving. Oh my God, it was ridiculous.
That's a great story.
Yeah, but and then like I said, I never won. I won 2 events, and I won at South Florida at the Claw. And another story about that is so the Claw, Tampa's 40 minutes from 45-minute drive from Lakeland where we were at school. So Coach goes, hey, you guys need to go down to the Claw and play a practice round before next week happens, because we need to see that golf course. So we go, all right. So me and Lee and a bunch of us drove down. And on the 3rd tee, we'd been out there on the golf course for an hour and a half.
Oh.
Right? So I said to Lee and everybody, I said, let's go back to Lone Palm and practice. So we all left. We just left, played 2 holes, 2.5 holes. So we get there, we go. So we don't say anything to Coach. Yeah, course was great, Coach. We love it. It's going to be awesome. We don't know where it is. So we go to the tournament. I win the event, and the team wins going away. Okay, that's my only side. Like I said, that's my second one. I win by a couple shots. We're in the truck on the way back, the van. We don't fly in airplanes, and now that we flew in, we drove around old vans, hardly made it, all beat up. So I'm in the front seat because I played the best, so you got to sit in the front seat. So Coach is here, he goes, I told you boys that practice round was going to make a difference. And I looked back at Lee, and he goes, yeah, you got to tell him. So I looked up at Coach and I went, well, Coach, we only played 2 holes that day because it took too long. And he pulled the van over. I told what I did. He didn't know what to say. I said, what are you going to say? What are you going to say right now? Because we just won going away and I won. Did we really need to play? He was just so mad at us for like a week. He was mad. But anyway, I had to tell him because it was just a perfect time. If we'd have finished last, wouldn't have told him. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
those stories come back. It's pretty fun. But yeah, being in those Hall of Fames, of course, it's an honor. Yeah, it's cool. I like I said, I won 2 tournaments, but it was a fun time of my life. Being at school and learning to be by yourself, basically, and then learning to play golf. That's where I learned to play. So year round. So that was cool.
You are such a fun follow on social media, on Instagram, and
Well,
I tell
thank you.
you share so many tips with all of us. And I was telling my buddies just the other day, I said, I figured out I've solved golf at our age thanks to Rocco Mediate.
Right.
Because I dropped that right foot, my trail foot back a couple of inches, and all of a sudden I found 10 yards and straighter drives. I'm like, this is all because
Good.
of Rocco Mediate. You need
Yeah.
to go out there and watch his tips. You're fantastic. Thank you for sharing all of those things.
Oh, no problem. I love it. That was what we were taught to do. Is if you know enough about it, you need to share and promote the game. If you don't know anything about it, don't share or promote, because you'll screw people up. So I do know a lot. I've paid attention, and I like to help. And is it always right? No. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work for you. It's like, I'm not trying to teach a system. It's just certain things on how to play shots. And, I do things differently because of the way my back was over my career. And it, people will make fun of it sometimes. I'm like, yeah, it's too bad it hadn't worked, but only 40 years. It's really not the longevity part. The longevity part is bothering me. It's not long enough. So I don't care if I get beat up. I just agree and go on. But it is fun to give it back. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to show off. I'm trying to show how to do things. Do we make it look easy? Yeah, it does look easy, but it's not. I spend a little bit less time than I used to when I was a kid, but I try to spend as much as I can because I love it still.
So one more before I let you go. I can't let you go without asking you about Tom Patry. Tom is a wonderful friend. He comes on my show every other week, and I just think the world of him. I know you guys were both at Florida Southern together, and you've known each other for a long time. What's your favorite Tom Patry story?
Well, Tom, first of all, he's a good one. He's a beauty. He talk about he'll tell you like it is. He doesn't care. He's that Northeast.
Yeah, I got that part.
He's that Northeast kid, right? But Tom Patry, I first saw him at the 1980 National Championships at Hot Meadow in Connecticut, Hot Meadow Country Club in Connecticut. And he was with Florida Southern. I was with California State in Pennsylvania, a little teeny school. I decided to go to college my senior year of high school. I didn't have a lot of choices. And I wouldn't have, for golf, I'd have had no choice. I walked on the team, made it, blah, blah, blah. But so we're up there playing in 1980, and he won. Florida Southern won the event by 30 or 35 shots.
Wow.
And Tom was the individual champion. That's when I first saw him. And then that's what gave me the idea about a year later, after hitting balls in the football field at Cal State in the sleet and the snow, to leave Pennsylvania. And my dad said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I want to go to that Florida Southern place. Those guys are good." And that's how it happened.
Wow.
Seeing him, never met. I didn't meet him that week, but I knew who he was. And then I met him, and Tom and I have been friends. He wants me to do his little Instagram live, and I just haven't had time. I'm going to tell him I'm going to do it, but it's been because he's taught his whole life. He was a good player. He still is a good player, but he's taught his whole life. He's given back so much, and he does a great job. He's taught a lot of good players, and he loves it. He's at where's he at now in Naples? What's the name of the
Twin
course?
Eagles.
Yeah, Twin Eagles, where we played the Champions Tour event for years. Unfortunately, we left there. That was one of my favorite courses. Talk about that's a good hard golf course, that one. But yeah, Tommy, I've known Tommy, good Lord, 40 some years now. So good man, good at what he does, and he's just a lot of fun. So yeah, that's how I got to Florida Southern. Was that's what I would have never heard of it if I didn't pay attention once again.
Wow.
And that's how it happened. Yep.
Rocco, before I let you go, remind our listeners, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're doing out there? Get those tips and follow you on social media.
Oh yeah, it's just Rocco_golf on Instagram is all I have. And then I do the radio show too, which I don't know if you've heard it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's good. It's Sirius XM on 7 p.m. Eastern on
the Rocco Mediate Hour.
Yeah, the Rocco Hour, Monday and Tuesday. But then I do once a month. This is a good one though. I do once a month with Alice Cooper. And that because I like music more than I like golf. I don't play it, I just like it more. I swear I like it more than I like golf. But so getting to speak with Alice, has been a friend for 100 years, and it's called Rolling the Rock with Alice Cooper and me. And it's just I get to talk about music. We talk golf too, obviously, because he likes golf more than anybody does. So those are some fun times. Being able to do that once again is, I mean, they're literally paying me to talk. I mean, it's kind of silly if you think about it.
Rocco, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and be a part of the show. You're fantastic, my friend. I hope we get this privilege with you again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Anytime, you know where I am, and I love it.
Take care, Rocco. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
You got it. You too, bud. See you.
See you, Rocco. Folks, that is the great Rocco Mediate. Look, it just doesn't get any better than that guy. I mean, for crying out loud, you want to talk about a great career. You know, he kind of downplayed it a little bit, but you don't win like you did at Florida Southern. Look, they won a national championship while he was there, and then to go on and win as many times as he did on the PGA Tour and then the Champions Tour and bringing home that senior PGA championship back in 2016. We all know about the fight with Tiger in the U.S. Open and going the extra holes, and really went 19 holes after a sudden death. They played a whole nother round, right? Because they tied after regulation, and then they had to go a whole nother round, and they were still tied, and then went to the 19th hole before Tiger won it. But we all remember that in 08, but he was right in a lot of the other majors throughout the course of his career, and then a wonderful presence out on the senior PGA Tour, winning more times out there, and then finally getting his major, and then continuing to play well and winning, like you said, 9 months ago at the Furyk and Friends tournament down in Jacksonville. But just a wonderful representative of Western Pennsylvania, a wonderful representative for professional golfers, whether it's on the regular tour and then transitioning to the Champions Tour, and just how much fun and how great of a guy is he. I can't tell you how much I enjoy that, and I recommend Steel Links. Go out and watch that. It's just a wonderful thing about Western Pennsylvania golf, and then the four of those guys getting out there and playing and sharing stories. It's a heartwarming thing. Bill Cowher does a segment on there about being from just outside of Pittsburgh as well, and his growing up, and then obviously Neil Walker talking about being from that area as well and becoming a Pirate and what that meant and what it means to represent the city in Western Pennsylvania and being from that area. So go check that out if you haven't already. I hope we get the privilege of having Rocco back on the show before too long. Coming up next is a guy who had a wonderful PGA Tour career, comes from a great golf family, and is now one of the great instructors in our game, and that is Larry Rinker. Before I bring Larry into the show, I want to remind you about our wonderful friends over at On Point Golf and their out-of-this-world On Point Golf Ball Marker. And if you don't have one, folks, you really need to go check it out at onpointgolf.us. Get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only three-dimensional ball marker out there, with alignment technology and a removable coin that is approved to use according to the rules of golf. As you know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your three-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and you're going to lower your scores. Do what the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals, and amateurs alike are doing now. They use the #1 ball marker in golf and they lower their scores. You know Ken Duke and Thongchai JD. They won for the first time on the PGA Tour in 2023, and they were using an On Point ball marker. Get yours at onpointgolf.us and make more putts. And oh, by the way, you can also customize the removable coin for any club, event, or corporate outing. They make really great tee gifts and custom products. That's also going to help lower your score. I use On Point ball markers. Mine is black and gold, 3D black golf ball with a gold line down the middle to help me line up my putts. It's like having a 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let it help yours? Again, onpointgolf.us. See what I'm talking about. Order yours today. I also want to remind you about our wonderful friends over at Squares Golf.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own, the perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
All right, now back in next on the tee with me is former PGA Tour pro and now one of the all-time great instructors in our game, and that is Larry Rinker. Larry is from Stuart, Florida. He's a part of a great golf family. He and his brother Lee, plus his sister Lori, all played out on tour. Larry played his college golf at the University of Florida, where he took the individual medalist honors at the 1978 SEC Championship. He was named to the All-SEC team in 78 and 79 and the All-American team in 78 as well. He turned pro in 1980. He won 6 times out on the mini tours. He teamed with his sister Lori to win the 1985 J.C. Penney Mixed Team Classic And over the course of his PGA Tour career, he had 2 second-place finishes, 2 thirds, and 26 top tens. Like I say, now he is one of the all-time great instructors that our game has ever had. You can find him down at the Ritz-Carlton Golf Club in Orlando, Florida. And if you can't catch him down there, you can't go down there. Well, then book a lesson with Larry on the V1 video app. And I couldn't be more honored. I get to have him back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Larry, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
So, Larry, before we get into a lot of the other stuff, I want to get your thoughts. The Open got underway today. First round is in the books. You played in 3 Open championships. In fact, you finished tied for 12th in 92 at Muirfield. That was the year Nick Faldo won it. Talk about your experiences playing in the Open and what you remember about that week in 92.
Well, the Open Championship, playing golf in Scotland and the UK, it's a lot different. And they're playing the Open Championship this year in Ireland. But it's a lot different. And finesse is a big part of the game. And then there's weather. And the ground's firm. And not a lot of high rough around the greens like you'd see at the US Open. But then they have the fescue and the higher grasses. You don't want to get in some of them. It's really bad stuff over there. But it's just a different game. You can play the ball low. The better you are with your short game and putting, the greens don't get that fast. So it's a lot different really than the other 3 majors. And the golf though is still, you've got to have your wits about you. It really is a world open. There's players from so many countries playing in it. And it's really the same as getting ready for any tour event. You just want to have your skill sets good. You want to be hitting the ball pretty straight. Driving is a big part of it, hitting fairways. And then obviously your short game and putting is important. And one thing I think is very important over there is you've got to miss on the correct side. And a lot of times golf courses have a side you can miss on, you're okay, and a side you miss on and you're in trouble. And so the Open Championships, a lot of the courses they play, they have that, where if you miss on the wrong side, you pay the piper. And I really like that because that really shows the guys that have their game under control. But 92 was just great. I played in the Scottish Open the week before. I missed the cut by 1 shot, so I got to go down to the Muirfield area early, and then was low qualifier at Loughness New, and then just kept the good play going and bogeyed 18. Otherwise, I'd have tired my good buddy Donnie Hammond for 5th, but still, it was just a great week, and played with Ian Woosnam on Sunday and Jose Maria Olazabal on Saturday. So, just a great experience going over there. And I think it rejuvenates your game going over there because you get more creative. And that's what I love about it. And there's shots there you hit that you probably wouldn't hit here in the States. And to me, that just gets you out of the normal and awakens those creative juices within you.
So I want to take a lot of what you just said a step further. I want to go back to what you just said a second ago. Shots you wouldn't hit over here, you've got to be able to hit over there. And you mentioned it's more of a ground game there than it is here. So the style of play is very different. And you've only got a short period of time to adjust to that. How did you make such a big adjustment in your game in dealing with the harder surfaces and more bump and runs and lower shots than what you would normally hit here? How'd you make that adjustment so quickly?
Well, you go over early and get acclimated. So playing the week before in the Scottish Open, you start to get acclimated. And now the Scottish Open is a tournament that counts for both tours, the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. So it's kind of an elevated event. It's not a signature event, but it's an elevated event. So when I look at the pools that I'm in, the one I'm in with my 2 sons, I'm looking at the guys that played last week, the Scottish, and they didn't have to win, but who were guys that had top 10s and just showed some pretty good form coming into this week. And so I think it's very important for that. If you just fly in and you didn't play the week before over there, it's harder to get acclimated. It takes a little bit of time.
You mentioned weather as well, and sometimes you can experience all 4 seasons during the course of one round over there, the mental discipline that you have to do to deal with the weather and putting on a jacket, putting on a rain suit, taking it off, dealing with the high winds, dealing with the rain, all the while trying to stay focused and in the present moment has got to be incredibly challenging. How did you deal with the weather changes that you dealt with during the course of a round?
First off, it would have to be almost unthinkable for them to stop play. Because most of the time, I don't ever remember, I've been over there 3 times, I don't remember lightning that would stop it. And the ground's so firm, I've never seen it where the green's puddled up so they would have to stop it. So you kind of realize that if it starts raining, you're in it. And when it's your time to play, you've got to pull a club and hit a shot. And the rain could be going sideways. So at the qualifier at Luftus New, we had some wind. We had over 40-mile-an-hour winds in the qualifier in 92. So I saw some pretty nasty weather there as far as wind. But you've got to have your rain suit in your bag. You've got to have maybe an extra sweater, some dry towels. It's very important to be ready to go play an Open Championship. Like you said, you could experience all kind of weather in one 18-hole round.
You mentioned Donnie Hammond, and Donnie is also a wonderful friend of mine in this show. What's your favorite Donnie Hammond story?
Well, I have a lot. Some I can't say on the air, but really 92, it was kind of fun. I don't know why I did this, but the Monday I was playing the second round of the qualifier, and Donnie was qualifying. I didn't even have a room to stay in that night, and I didn't have a rent-a-car. And my luggage was at the Marine Hotel, which I had stayed the past 3 nights. They were sold out starting Monday night. And somehow Donnie met some gentleman, and we had a place to stay that night. And so we played practice rounds together. He finished tied for 5th, 1 shot better than I did. So we had a lot of fun that week. And it's always fun when you go over and play well. Quite a journey over there and getting used to everything. But that was one time that we had a lot of fun. And, we've just had a lot of fun through the years, played a lot of practice rounds together, and really have kind of helped each other to play better golf. We met in college playing college events, and then we both kind of honed our skills here in Orlando playing the J.C. Goosey Space Coast Tour, the mini tour here in Orlando. And that's where I think both of us got our games a lot better after college.
Larry, you played in the Masters a couple of times. The first time, I believe, was in 1983. That would be the year that Seve got his second green jacket. What do you remember about your first time driving up Magnolia Lane and the first time you got a glimpse of that golf course?
I had a dream as a kid that the first time that I went to the Masters, I was playing in it. And I got to live that dream. We had played the week before in Greensboro. We had rain, so we didn't finish until Monday. So my first practice round was Tuesday. And just driving in, I remember I pulled up to the little guardhouse there off Washington Avenue, and I said, "Hi, I'm Larry Rinker." And they said, "We know who you are. Welcome to the Masters."
Wow.
And I got to drive down Magnolia Lane and park my car and go in and register. And I tell you, that first practice round, the topography there is quite amazing. I think the people that go there for the first time, you're pretty surprised, those North Georgia hills that they have there. But when you go downhill on 10 and then go down to 11 and see Rays Creek and play 12 and 13, and now you're hitting a second shot into the par 5 at 13. You're like, I'm here at the Masters. This is pretty amazing here. And so I didn't dream past playing in it. I was really nervous on the first tee, that first round, more so than any other event. And it just was a dream come true. It takes a master to win there. The greens get so firm and fast. There's always going to be things that happen that blow your mind there. So So you've just got to really be ready for some kind of train wreck that you somehow make a bogey on the hole and don't mess up your round. But it's the most exciting 9 holes in golf every year when we watch the back nine on Sunday. I mean, we all get so excited for it. Shoot, now I do a taste of the Masters. You can order
Yes,
and get
me too.
barbecue pork and the cups and get your Arnold Palmers going and get the green and white tablecloths. It's a blast.
So let's take that a step further, because does it at any point ever, the nerves and everything settle down and it becomes just another golf tournament? Or are you always aware of the gravity of, I'm out at Augusta National and this is the Masters?
Something that you have to do for a while, and the people that are in it every year, it gets a little easier as you go. That's why, you're always very nervous the first term of the year when you've had 8 or 10 weeks off. Just seems like, wow, I don't remember being this nervous. But then after a few weeks, that starts to calm down. So I just think playing, and that's why you see a lot of guys like to play the week before a major, because they feel like they just go right into it. And this is kind of the next tournament. This is my next round. This is my next tee shot. And really, from a mental standpoint, that's where you got to be. You got to be in the present. What's my next shot? Don't get ahead of yourself and just think, okay, I've got to get this tee shot in the fairway. And then after that happens, I'll deal with whatever happens from there. And so that's the mentality that you have to have. And the truth is, you're going to hit every shot in the present moment. Just going to be a matter of whether you're mentally there or not.
Larry, I read that you played in the par 3 tournament with a couple of Masters champions in Gary Player and Gabe Brewer. What was it like walking next to those guys playing the par 3 tournament?
It was great. I have video of that. My dad videoed it, and I'm trying to remember, how did I end up playing with these two gentlemen? And I'm just going to say I walked over to the first tee and they were there and I was by myself, and I played with them. But I had seen Gary Player. I played a practice round with him. I remember at the Southern Open being in the bunker and him showing me some stuff in the bunker. And so, hey, that's a good tip for any young pro playing. Go play with former champions of tournaments and get in their head and find out what they do. I'm trying to think who it was. Scotty Scheffler, I think, played a practice round with somebody. Might have been Darren Clark or somebody this week at the Open, just to get a little bit into his head, like, hey, tell me about this golf course. Tell me what I don't know. And you see that at the Masters. I think Ben Crenshaw had a lot to do with Jordan Spieth winning in 2015. So it's good to play with people that have been there, former champions. And hey, that was a thrill. Gary Player was not that old in '83. I'm going to say he was, wow, that was 42 years ago. So he'd only been 48. So he wasn't even 50 yet. So he was still pretty good in 1983.
Yeah, it's only 5 years past the last time he had won the tournament. So to your point.
Yeah.
I read in '84 that you set a goal for yourself to win $45,000 that year so that you could make the top 125 and earn your exemption for the following season. You finished second to Bob Eastwood in the USF&G Classic in New Orleans that year, thanks to a final round 68. You nearly won $45,000 right there. You exceeded your goal for the year. I have to imagine you were the happiest runner-up ever that week.
I was. I remember the 18th hole. I had a 4-iron in for my second shot. And Bob, the last time I looked at a leaderboard, he had a 3-shot lead on me. And I just said, well, there'll be another day for me to try and chase down the leader. But I'm going to just hit this in the middle of the green and 2-putt and secure second place. And I finished second by 2 shots. So, but that was great. I mean, that year I was playing better. I had never made the top 125. I qualified in '81 with Payne Stewart, Dennis Watson, and Mark Calcavecchia and Clarence Rose. and I end up 1982 finishing 132 on the money list, and then 1983 I finished 128. So I'm just trying to make that top 125. Payne used to kid me saying, "Hey, you're going back to your favorite tournament, the Fall Classic." He used to love to dig you with stuff like that. That was his way of motivating you. It wasn't very motivational. It kind of was insulting, but we were good friends. But he would say that. In 1984, I was playing well. I was in the top 25 at Pebble Beach going into Sunday and played with Jack Nicklaus and played terrible like I always did. And then Doral, I was top 25, didn't play well. At the Honda Classic, I get paired with Jack again, and we're walking down the first fairway. He puts his arm around me. Said, "No, Larry, you're not going to have that bad front nine with me again, are you?" "No, Jack, 42 on the front." So, and then
Wow.
at Bay Hill, I think I was in the top 10 going into Sunday and had a bad Sunday. So now here we are in New Orleans, and it's like I'm in the next to last group, but I'm like, okay, I drive it in the roots of this tree on one, and now I've got to chip out. I'm like, oh no, is this going to be another Sunday? And I made 4 birdies in a row after that hole and had a great round and locked my card up that week, as you said. That was really a big thing, and ended up finishing 60th on the money list that year, which was the old standard before the all-exempt tour started in 1983.
A few weeks after that at the Heritage, you were in the final group on Sunday with Nick Faldo and Dan Poole. Faldo had a 4-stroke lead going in there, and he would go on to win his first PGA Tour event ever that day. What was it like being in the final group with him and watching him go through the process of getting his first PGA Tour victory?
Well, funny story is I wasn't exempt because I was from the Q school, and it was on Monday afternoon. My caddy called me and said, "Hey, you're in Sea Pines. You're in the Heritage." And I'm like, I've already made my money now. I'm like, no, I think I'm just going to have fun at home this week. He said, no, you should come up here. You're going to love this place. Sure enough, as you say, I'm in the final group on Sunday. And I didn't play well, as usual, on Sunday, but it was my first final group on Sunday. And that's the whole thing. You learn. I mean, you got to learn how to lose before you learn how to win. The more times you get there, the more comfortable you're going to be. And so I just, that was before Faldo worked with Ledbetter. So it's interesting looking at his swing and the old videos of what it was like then. But he was already a world-class player. He'd already played on Ryder Cup team. So, but that was his first win in the United States. And, he was his usual boring golf, fairways and greens. And, that's really what you need at Hilton Head. It's a very tight golf course, short, a lot of out of bounds. And so I just remember getting out of the way, putting out for par and shaking his hand at the end and saying, well played.
You mentioned Q School, and you went through it 4 different times. And I've talked to several of your peers that went through Q School, and they talk about how the pressure to get through that tournament was greater than any regular tour event that they ever played in. Would you agree with that?
It certainly was in the beginning, and the more you understood what it really meant if you made it. So yes, and it's very difficult. I made it 4 times. I have to look it up to see how many finals I played in. I think I played in 6 or 7 finals, but it's excruciating. It was a lot easier back when we did it. We had 50 cars to play for. Now the guys only have 5, and so it's kind of interesting what they're doing. Top 100 this year instead of top 125. I think the tour's going the wrong way with that. It's
Same.
because when you had 125 guys, that guy 125, he can make a schedule. He has a life. He can have Monday pro-ams he plays in. But now 25 guys, they're going to say, well, you're going to get starts and you're going to get in tournaments, but you don't necessarily know where you're going to get in and what you're going to get in. So I don't know. It's always a choice of where do you take, because at the end of the day, there's only so many players that can play. I'm not a fan of them shortening all these fields. That there's only one league. It's the PGA Tour. The Corn Ferry is great, but they don't play for what the PGA Tour plays for. And so the more opportunity that the administration and our board can do for our players, to me, that's what they should be doing. And I feel like they've taken opportunity away.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Larry, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk some golf instruction and really at a high level. I mean, you do so many wonderful videos out on social media where you're teaching us stuff, and I want to get into some of those playing lessons in a minute. But nowadays, when you scroll through social media, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, there's so much golf instruction out there. For amateurs like me, I mean, we don't know. We don't know. Is this guy, this girl, do they know what they're talking about? Is this the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? Do you ever kind of scroll through stuff and look at somebody's video, and I don't want you to name names or anything, but see stuff out there and say, well, I sure hope no one watches this because that's not right.
There's a lot of crap out there. So and the interesting thing, you don't know what you don't know. And with Wright Balance and studying 3 different swing models, upper, mid, and low core, I now know what matches up. And I've measured over 1,500 people using this system now, and I've had success. I've had real results with people using this method. So when I see people saying, "Hey, get your weight to your right foot," or do this or do that, it's like, well, not necessarily. And so, unfortunately, there's a lot of instruction out there that just isn't that good. And so I don't go online and criticize people online. Everyone has their ability to put what they believe out. And if they get followers, and a lot of followers, good for them. There's some people that have hundreds of thousands of followers on their golf instruction pages. And some of those people, when I look at their stuff, I go, I wouldn't recommend somebody go work with them, or I wouldn't go work with them myself. So, it's tough because, most people don't have my filter where I can look and say, okay, yeah, and I see stuff on tour. I see stuff that the short game stuff on tour. And it's amazing how the tour is trendy. I saw this at Bay Hill this year. And I see guys, this low spinner has become this shot everybody wants to hit. And it's something where I see guys playing with the fringe where their landing ball short of the green because the trajectory they're hitting, that's where they've got to hit it to have it stop by the hole. Whereas if they played a higher shot, they could land it on the green. And so it's just interesting to me watching this. And then I see these guys that, are trying to, control the ball with their big muscles in their bodies and their body rotation instead of using their hands and wrists. And I see top 20 players on tour that I call them wipers. They just pull across it. And we watch them, hit it over a green. And then the next shot, they don't get on the green. And then they hit it on the green and 2-putt, and they've made a double on this hole. And these guys are world-class players. But it's interesting watching the Open Championship, other than if they get in the wispy stuff, as they say over there. A lot of the shots that they're playing around the greens, it's from closely mown areas. So we're starting to see low shots really work over there. There isn't like you've got to hit a flop shot over a bunker. So, and I really believe the guys that are really good around the greens with low shots are using their hands and wrists. And it's really understanding how you use your arms, hands, and wrists to hit a ball low, hit a ball high. And if you're a world-class player, you should have a full arsenal of shots you can hit around the green. But, I see that, and it's just not what I believe. And again, I have real results working with people. I have people I work with, and a lot of the times they come to me and they're trying to do these same things. It's like putting. They want to putt with their shoulders and not use their hands and wrists. And I jokingly say to them every time, you wouldn't be here if that worked. So, so we're busy because of the crap out there about these big muscles controlling our little muscles, which are arms, hands, and wrists. And in my world, if you want to be any good in this game, you better understand how to control the golf club with your arms, hands, and wrists, no matter what shot you're playing. And that's where you're going to get better at this game when you start understanding.
All right, so there's a lot there to unpack, and I want to go back to where you started. Right balance and the 3 swing models. Tell everybody what those are.
Well, the names of them are upper core, mid core, and mid core is your tour model. It's what most people are teaching. And your average player on tour is mid core. And then low core is very rare. I mean, low core is less than 10%. So the simplest thing I could say is, and we see slow-mos of swing, is low core, the guys have their hips rotated the most. That would be Dustin Johnson, Lee Trevino, David Duval, Paul Azinger, Daniel Berger. There's not that many. There's more ladies that would fit that category than men. And then you have mid-core, which we know, thanks to technology, the hips are rotated about 40 to 45 degrees at impact. And then your grip has to match this. So strong grip with hips really rotated at impact like Dustin Johnson, that's low core. Mid-core is all the pretty swing. So pick your favorite swing. Justin Rose, Adam Scott, Ernie Els, Jason Day. The list goes on and on. And then upper core, which Wright Balance says 60% of all golfers are upper core. Only 30% of golfers are mid-core. But yet that's what everybody teaches. And we have this one-size-fits-all mentality. Let's tell everybody what to do, what the guy on TV is doing, winning. Let's put his swing up next to yours and try to get you to swing like a mid-core player when you're really upper core. And when I met Doc Wright about 9 years ago, I didn't know anything about his stuff. And my game went in the tank because I was trying to lag and rotate more, trying to look more like a mid-core player when I came out of posture and my hips weren't very rotated at impact. And sure enough, when I figured out what the upper core swing was, my name was next to it in the dictionary. I mean, it's exactly how I swing. And now I'm not fighting what I do. And what's interesting, the way that God works things out, is now that I finally figured my game out, I'm helping amateurs to unlock a game and be able to play a game instead of trying to clear their hips and stay in posture and do the things that a mid-core player would do, but they're not things that an upper core player does. So in my opinion, Chris, if somebody's got a one-size-fits-all mentality and they're teaching, they're at best intermediate teacher. They're not an advanced teacher in my book.
Larry, one of the things that I struggle with in my own game is early extension. My right shoulder gets out of position, and now, the ball goes anywhere. Sometimes I slice, sometimes I hook. How can I do a better job? You talk about using some of the smaller muscles and letting the arms pull the chest, through to the finish. How do you teach someone like me to fix early extension?
First off, early extension is perfectly fine if you're upper core. But if you Google early extension, you got every knucklehead online telling you how to fix it.
Yep.
Well, an early extension is a ground reaction vertical force. It's just Newton's third law. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So when your upper body's standing up and moving away from the ball, your club head can go faster toward it. So there's nothing wrong with early extension if you're upper core. And see, that's the problem in the industry, is there's 3 things the mid-core teachers are trying to do to upper core. They're trying to keep them in posture, get their hips more rotated impact, and get more forward shaft length. Those are the 3 traits that they're trying to get, but that's mid-core. Upper core's coming out of posture, not that we don't clear our hips, and we won't have as much forward shaft length because we release earlier. See, as we stand up, our trail arm straightens earlier. So how can you get rid of it? Embrace it. what you do. It's okay. Early extension does not cause you to hit a ball left or right or fat or thin.
Okay, so what do I do to get more consistent? I guess that, if that's not the problem, something's a problem. And now, I mean, you haven't seen my swing, so yeah, I guess for somebody who's going into it blind, saying, but gee, Chris, it could be a number of things. What do I do to try to figure out if it's not my early extension? Am I becoming disconnected somehow between my shoulders and my hips? Am I coming out of my posture too soon? What do you think? Where should I look to try to figure out what needs to get fixed?
Well, the first thing is, and this is what's so genius about Wright Balance, is Doc Wright has created semblance of order in the golf swing. If you are upper, mid, or low core, each swing model has its setup and swing characteristics. Your balance is different. There's so many things. Your pivot is different. Your grip is different. I mean, there's just so many things that are different in the three swings, and they've got to match up. And these aren't complicated things. That's what's fun about it, is it's simple stuff. But see, the problem is you don't understand if you're upper, mid, or low core, so therefore you don't even understand what matches up. And if you're trying to clear your hips in your upper core, there's your first mistake. So one of the things I do all the time in lessons is I deal with people's misconceptions about how they're supposed to swing a golf club. They show up and think they're doing all these things wrong, and it's like, no, these things are okay, but here's more of what we got to work on. And then you just struck a nerve using that word connection. There's nothing connected about the golf swing. Connected means I got a boat behind my truck, and when the truck moves, the boat moves the same distance. So if things are connected in the golf swing, that means the hands move as far as the chest moves and the hips move as far as the chest do. They're in sequence. Things have to be in sequence. And the truth is the hands don't stay in front of the chest. And the elbows don't stay connected to the torso. So how do you get your hands up above your shoulder at the top of your swing? So, these are things I battle all the time. Big muscles control the little muscles. That's that connection. One of my least favorite words in golf instruction. Whenever I hear that word connected.
Yeah.
No, you got to be in sequence. And the big thing you got to match up is you've got to match up your body rotations with the club, the whole club. So if you're low core, your body rotations are going to be ahead. You're going to lag and rotate because you got a super strong grip. That matches up. But if you're upper core, you're going to keep your back at the target longer. You're going to release the club right from the top, and you're going to have the club right in front of you at impact and your body not very rotated. And then if you're mid-core, you've got to match up body rotation with the club. I've seen a lot of shots here in the first round of the Open Championship where guys are losing it right. And in my mind, I was thinking, all these people, these big muscle people, and that's all they talk about, they forgot they got to use their hands to square that club face. They might want to rotate their hands and forearms a little bit and close the face instead of blocking it right, these right-handers. So you've got to get these things in sequence. You've got to understand what you are, and then you got to understand. So a mid-core player hitting the ball to the right, his body rotation is ahead of the club head. So he's got to feel his body back and get the club head back in front of him. And if he's overhooking it, okay, then body rotation, he's going to need his lead arm and body to rotate a little more through it. Body rotation's a face opener, not a face closer. You close the club face with your arms, hands, and wrists.
Love it. So let's talk a little bit of putting. You mentioned that a bit ago, and you have a wonderful video out there about if we have a fast downhill putt. Most guys out there today are using, as you said, their big muscles with a locked wrist in the putting stroke. That's what we see over and over again. But that's not the best way to deal with a fast downhill putt, right?
No, you want to tap it like you're tapping a nail in the drywall when you hang pictures. It's just a soft little tap. You're hitting that nail into the drywall. So that's the way you want to be. And the handle's not going to move much when you do that. So it's just a tap. But, I did a seminar last week for our team at the Ritz-Carlton Golf Club Orlando. And I put up a video that I have in V1, and I put the 5 myths of putting up there. You putt with your shoulders. You don't use your hands and wrists. You keep the triangle. It's a pendulum stroke or rhythm, and you got to aim perfectly. And I looked around and I said, how many of you are, if you were given a lesson, you would say this is what you're supposed to do? And most of them said, yeah, that's how I think we should putt. See, I call that the culture. See, that's what most people believe. Just a bunch of baloney.
So it harkens back to me, Larry, as I was talking to Gary Player a while back. We were talking about the changes in the golf swing from when he was first coming out on PGA Tour and to where we are now. Because there was a time back in the 60s, 70s, and probably even way longer than that, where the putting stroke was a lot of wrist. And now there's almost no wrist in it. So did we go too far? Did the change in the green complexes and the grasses and all of that take us from using our wrist, because greens used to roll an 8 or a 9 on the stimp, and now some of the, like we just came out of Oakmont where they roll a 16.5. So did the speed of the greens take that out, and now we believe that you don't need it at all, and we just kind of went too far with that?
That's a farce. That the faster the greens are, the less you want to use your hands and wrists. You have no touch doing that. So that's just a farce. Problem with this all is we've had people come up with this crap. See, when I give a putting lesson, the first thing I want to help somebody find is their natural intuitive stroke. And I roll balls at them, and they hit a ball coming at them. And when they do that, all of a sudden they unlock. They're not trying to lock up their hands and wrists. And they actually hit the ball. They actually feel hitting it with their trail hand. And I just want them to observe what they actually do when they shut their brain off and just hit a ball. And the first thing I'm trying to do is get people to move the putter the way they naturally and intuitively would do it before they listen to all this crap out there about not using your hands and your putt with your shoulders. And so that's really the first thing I do. And guess what? My friends that have sand putt labs, they tell me no two putting strokes are alike. So everybody's trying to manipulate. They're caught up in the culture. Unfortunately, this is what so many people believe. And hey, I'm busy giving putting lessons because it doesn't work.
So how did we get off course with all of that?
Somewhere along the line, people thought that was the way to putt. Tour players are notorious for telling you what they think they do and not what we really do. So they're going to say, hey, yeah, I'm putting with my arms. I'm not using my hands and wrists. But you hook them up to 3D, they're using them. So tour player, when you start talking about Gary Player, I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to hear Gary Player say something that he believes to be true, but it might not be. When I look at old golf books written by former players, and they're well-intentioned and there's a lot of good stuff in there, the truth is there's probably stuff in there that they felt that they did, but they don't really do. It's just the way they saw it.
Yeah.
And see, a tour player doesn't need to know what he really does. All he needs to know is if I think this and feel that and the ball behaves, I'm good. But how long does that last? And then when the ball stops behaving, what do I do? Well, let me go run back to my coach and figure out what's going on. And I want my students to understand, okay, if the ball's going left or right, how do you fix it? If you're hitting the ball fat or thin, how do you fix it? I want my students to become their own best coaches. And I want to teach people how to control the face, and that starts with a putter. This idea that you don't use your hands when you putt, name one thing in life that you don't use your hands and wrists to do. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. I ask people all the time, name one thing in life where your shoulders control your arms, hands, and wrists. Do you brush your teeth with your shoulders? Do you cut a steak with your shoulders? Put your clothes on, put your belt on, tie your shoes, brush your hair, on and on and on.
So does it drive you crazy then when you look at somebody like a Bryson DeChambeau, where everything in his stroke is locked down? He's got the putter up against his forearms. He's got his elbows, wrists. Everything is locked. There's not much fluid in his putting stroke. Do you look at that and say, my goodness, that's just crazy?
He's got the arm lock going. I bet if we hooked them up, there's probably still some hands and wrists in that. I've been working with this player, Louis Gagne, who had his Corn Ferry status in 22, and he's got an arm lock going. But the last couple of lessons I've had, I said, I just want to see a little bit. Give me some hands and wrists. Just feel a little bit of a hit there. And I'll tell you what, when you're playing slow greens for a major championship, like at Royal Portrush, these guys that are putting with their shoulders and not trying to use their arms, hands, and wrists, those greens are slow. And there's a lot of places where guys like to use putters from off the green. So I would say those guys struggle. And that's one thing that happens when people putt with their shoulders and don't use their hands and wrists. Their distance control stinks. And I say that to them, and they go, how did you know? Because there's no feel in that. There's feel in your hands. If you toss the ball, if I put a hole 30 feet away from you, 60 feet away from you, and I said, toss the ball, let's see if you can toss it closest to the hole, you're going to use your hand and wrist to toss it. You're not going to lock up your arm and hand and turn your body back and through to toss the ball. It's ludicrous.
Larry, before I let you go, now that you've got us all saying, boy, I must have to change everything, and not everyone can get down there to Orlando, talk about how they can reach out to you for some lessons, schedule something through V1, and also follow you online and on social media.
Well, they can go to my website, LarryRinker.com. Everything is there. I use V1 in my lessons, my online lessons, but I actually use Zoom so we can talk to each other. And then I can record the session in V1. And so all they would have to do is let me know they want to do it. And that's just through an email. My email address is on every page of my website. And they can just email me and say, hey, I'm interested in an online lesson. And I can add them into my V1 Coach app, and they will get an invitation. And then they upload their videos into V1. And then we schedule a time and we get on a Zoom call and we talk like you and I are talking. And then we look at their videos and I record it. So at the end, they get the V1 recorded part of the lesson. I've also written 3 books. So if they're upper core, they will get my upper core swing revised, which I revised it back in August. Rinker's 5 Fundamentals is a total game improvement book. So if we're talking short game and putting, then I'll send them that one. So they will get my ebooks. And so V1 Zoom online lesson. So it's I even have a tab for it now on my website. And so definitely something we can do right from the comfort of your own home.
That's awesome. This was very educational for me, Larry. Clearly, there's a lot of misconception going on out there. You talked about the bad lessons that you see, your video tips that are out there, and then guys like me coming in with a lot of misconceptions about the golf swing. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. I hope we get this privilege of having you come back and talk a little bit more about it before too long.
Well, anytime, Chris. And also, I post videos twice a week on Mondays and Fridays on 4 social media platforms: YouTube, Instagram, X, and Facebook. So all my videos are there. Best place, if you're going to jump in and look at some, I'd go to my YouTube channel. So there's over 500 videos there now. You want to check out what I believe and what I see. But, hey, I'm in the business of helping people now, Chris. So
well, you're doing a heck of a job, Larry. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all that you shared today. And certainly I love scrolling through your Instagram and your YouTube pages and looking at all of those videos. It's made a difference in my game, and it clearly has a lot more to go. So I will continue to get through there, and I hope you'll continue to come back and share more with us.
Be glad to anytime.
Take care, Larry. All the best to you and your family. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
See you, Larry. That is the great Larry Rinker, folks. Again, LarryRinker.com is his website, and you can check him out, like he said, all over social media. I'm telling you, when you scroll through his Instagram page or his YouTube channel, there is so much great instruction. That's why I asked the question about what is good instruction and what are you seeing out there that's not so much. That's where I get confused, right? I'm a regular amateur just like everybody else, weekend warrior. There is so much instructional information out there. You can scroll through Instagram and Twitter and all of that, and you see a bunch of stuff out there. How do we know what's good and what's not? Well, you talk to an expert like Larry Rinker. That's how. And Larry is just, like I say, in his introduction, and I mean it sincerely, one of the all-time greats. So if we're out there messing everything up, we need to go to a guy like Larry to get ourselves straightened back out and then start hitting better golf shots. So look, if you can't get down to Orlando to one of his golf schools, and you can look at those, you want to go for a 3-day experience and get into a golf school, Larry's got those running as well, and you'll find those on LarryRinker.com. But you've got the opportunity, as he said, to go through the V1 video app and Zoom. So what's interesting about Larry is he kind of takes it a step further, so you can have those conversations like we had today. So that's an extra step that not everybody does. So I appreciate the fact that Larry adds that in there for you. So look, go get your game fixed. So LarryRinker.com, at Larry Rinker is where you're going to find him online. We'll get him back on the show again soon. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this very special bonus edition of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to Rocco, Mediate, and Larry Rinker for joining me. Scheduled to join me next week are our resident director of instruction, Tom Patry, will be back. Looking forward to catching up with him as always. Our regular visit from the Confidence Doctor, Dr. Bob Winters, will also take place. It's always great and a learning experience with Doc. And our good friend Briston Peterson from On Point Golf is going to be back. These guys, they're awesome. The best ball markers anywhere on the planet, and there's science behind it to prove why it is. Go check them out online at onpointgolf.us. I'm telling you, folks, if you haven't looked at them, there's a reason why Jim Furyk immediately got behind him, another Pittsburgh guy, by the way. So go check it out online. Looking forward to having Briston back as part of the show as well. I want to thank our friends again over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review for hosting this show on their site. For coverage of everything going on in Western Pennsylvania, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find the show by then clicking on the Sports section tab, and the most recent episode is going to be right there for you front and center on the homepage of the Sports section. Or you can click on Sports and then Podcast Network. Then you're going to see the Next on the Tee logo. Click on that. And many of the most recent episodes from this season are going to be right there for you as well. You can also find the show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content, including Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and GolfNewsNet.com. And like I say all the time, huge thanks to the great folks over at Good Pods for making this show one of the recommended podcasts. So please download their free app and stream your favorite podcast right there on your favorite device. But like I say each and every week, my biggest thanks go out to each and every one of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on TribLive or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.